the way diabetes happens is after liver fat. So let me explain this. When the body takes excess calorie, especially the carbohydrate gets stored as fat in the biggest organ inside our body, the liver. Okay, and as the liver fat keeps growing, the spillover happens to additional organs. When the liver fat goes up in the pancreas, it becomes diabetic. When it gets when the fat goes up in your ovary, it becomes PCOS. So before you can reduce pancreatic fat, the liver fat will start coming down. And it's very difficult to measure the pancreatic fat. So keep an eye on liver fat. If liver fat is coming down when people are taking jackfruit flour, then the process of reversal has started. So keep an eye on the liver fat. So when Dr. Abhichintani told me that, okay, my patients are reversing fatty liver, I understood this is what Professor Reuter had told me. And during this time, a researcher from JSS Medical College, Mysore, Divya Kumar, reached out to me on Twitter. And Divya told me, James, I've come back from the US and I've set up a liver research lab in JSS Medical College. Is there anything I can do with jackfruit flour? So I told Divya that Dr. Abhichintani has now over 200 patients. He's consistently reversing fatty liver. Is there anything which you can do around fatty liver? So she told me, James, Dr. Abhichintani's patients were going back to their home. So they were taking jackfruit flour and other things in their food. So we can't 100% pinpoint that, okay, jackfruit flour is the only thing which made a difference to their fatty liver. So what Divya told me, if I do the study on mice models, lab mice models, they're identical mice. And I can give one mice a placebo and another group with the jackfruit flour. And they are in the lab environment, so there is no other confounding factor. And if we can replicate what Dr. Bichintani has seen with his patients, if we can replicate that with the mice model, then we can 100% pinpoint that, okay, look, the only reason for the fatty liver reduction is the jackfruit flour. And I agreed. So we had the mice model. We used Western diet as a way to increase body weight and the liver fat in the mice model. So one group had the Western diet, the other group had the healthy diet. And then once the study got over, Divya told me, James, it's real. The placebo group had a significantly higher amount of liver fat versus the jackfruit flour group. And we are able to replicate what Dr. Bichitani's patients are getting in this mice study. But what intrigued me more was on this graph. So in the first 12 weeks, the mice almost doubled its body weight. And then it was intervened with wheat flour as placebo with 5%, and jackfruit flour is the green line. 5% of the Western diet was replaced with jackfruit flour. So the wheat flour group continued to gain body weight, while the jackfruit flour group stopped gaining any weight. So what I got curious is what actually triggered this weight gain. So when I compared what is the difference between the healthy diet and the Western diet, the Western diet had 42% more sugar. Okay, so with 42% more sugar, it almost doubled the body weight. But we only replaced 5% of the Western diet with jackfruit flour. So when this line was steady, which means just 5% jackfruit flour was able to neutralize the effect of 42% sugar. And that is remarkable. Just 5% jackfruit flour is able to prevent 42% sugar in the Western diet from adding any weight. And then I was presenting this at the American Society for Nutrition conference in Chicago in 2024. And all the professors whom I met, they told me, James, we have never seen a flat line in food. Even intermittent fasting, there is a slight gain in body weight in the mice model. Only medicines can keep it flat. But a food keeping it flat, we have never seen. This is something significant. Okay, but there was another researcher who was there to present about the impact of soluble fiber in processed food, Dr. Vishal Singh from Penn State University. And he was presenting how ultra processed food can be made healthier by adding soluble fiber. And I showed him the graph of the flat line with the jackfruit flour. And he told me, James, we have tested different types of soluble fiber in ice cream with a continuous glucose monitor to see which soluble fiber is more effective in controlling sugar. And he said the soluble fiber which had the biggest effect was pectin, which is a soluble fiber from fruits like apple or orange. But pectin is a soluble fiber in jackfruit as well. Okay, now, how do we know jackfruit has this specific pectin? The answer comes from our ancestors. For centuries, our ancestors knew it's possible to make a jam or variety from chakapadam or the ripe jackfruit. We have so many fruits, like you mentioned, Sri Kumar. We have mango, we have pineapple. How can no one bother to make a jam from pineapple or the mango, but only from jackfruit? Our ancestors figured out it's possible to make a jam or variety from it. And before we get to the science, it's there in our literature. In fact, the one which I would quote is The Covenant of Water by Dr. Abraham Verghese. Already 2 million copies have been sold. And this is also on the Oprah Winfrey's book club. Okay, it's a bestseller. But the most romantic dish, the lead character, Mariamma, who then becomes Valiamachi, when she gets married, her sister-in-law teaches her one spectacular dish, which is chakka variety or the jackfruit jam. And the way she narrates that recipe to her is that when you make this, when you're mixing it, think about one thing which you want from your husband and keep on mixing it, keep on stirring it till it becomes a jam. Okay, but if you try to do that with a pineapple, it will remain a sugar syrup for days. But the jackfruit becomes a jam very quickly, becomes a gel, it becomes a jam very quickly. Why? How do you make a jam? Okay, how do people make pineapple jam? In the juice, you add another ingredient called pectin. When you add pectin, the juice becomes a gel and immediately becomes a jam. So pectin is added to make jam. But that pectin is naturally available in the jackfruit. That is why we are able to make a jam from jackfruit without adding pectin. So pectin is a soluble fiber naturally present in jackfruit compared to other fruits available in Kerala.